Monica Makes It Happen podcast is proudly supported by Goya. If it's Goya, it has to be good. And by JP Morgan Chase, New York's hometown bank for over 225 years.
Hi, everybody. It's the Monica Makes It Happen podcast. I think we've had about a dozen of them. This is going to be one of my favorites. We've had so many fantastic guests. And you know, the job of every guest is to tell me who to have next time. That's my secret. Oh. See that? See how I just built in the success? And we have the momentum, and I'm so grateful to our sponsors, JP Morgan Chase and Goya, for always making it happen. But we're here with Ty Lawson, everybody. Studio audience. I have a studio audience. You gotta come in here. Thank you. Misty Blanco's here. But anyway, that's for my social media show. Okay. And you'll see that on a reality show near you. But Ty, your story is unbelievable. First of all, a little background on you. Columbia University professor. I mean, this is the pinnacle of journalism, okay? The best of the best. He leads our next generation of truth tellers, which is so important right now. In the environment that we're in, we need the truth more than ever. And I can say that I'm in the media, and so many times I'm frustrated because I know people are suffering, and those stories are not being told. And you've been always at the forefront teaching students at Columbia how to do that. But most importantly, I've known you forever on a personal level, and I didn't know this incredible story about you and why. I always think the why is so interesting, right, Misty? I feel like you should be co-hosting this. Come on in. Why not? Come on in. Is that okay? It's okay. It's okay. Just sit. You can. It's all right. It's okay. You know, I used to do these social media shows in a studio near you, and we used to just do it live, and I loved that. Now, Misty, if you know her, she's a big star. Misty Blanco is a huge star, and she's on our social media show. But if you have a question, feel free to jump in, and I'll make sure that I move my mic or do something, and we'll get you in. But Ty, your story, you've never really said it before, so this is the first time. And what I'm so intrigued by is that it's the why of what you're doing now. And I can't believe I didn't know about this. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your story?
All right, sure. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, a place that I hold very dear. I love New Orleans. I've been in New York about 10 years, but I met you when I was in Boston. And during that time, I would fly home to New Orleans pretty much once a month. But I never told anyone why I was leaving. And last year, I was a king in a Mardi Gras parade in New Orleans, and one of our other former coworkers, he came down, and I shared with him in that moment, and he was like, "I thought you were just going home. I didn't know you were going back for that." And then I told him why, and it was when I was 16 years old, my sister and my nephew were murdered, and I've been going to court since I was 16 years old. That hasn't ended. So it's been a lot of back and forward with court delays and retrials, et cetera, and it just the red tape of the criminal justice system. So I finally decided to start being more open about it. And one of the things that I've done is in taking on the role as a professor, I try to make classes that focus on like media that matters, kind of given that why. And so my students did stories on crime, but they also looked at human trafficking and what's going on and how that's like an unspoken truth and happening in most big cities around the nation. So that's kind of the part of me that I didn't share, but now I feel more emboldened to share.
That's why I was so attracted to Ty. I was attracted to you because you attract what you are. And I too have some backstory about my mom and my dad. My mom came here very young, and in my mind I make up this story, which I hope is not true, about why she came here, because she was 16 when she came here, very young and alone. And so you just kind of, in your mind, she never talked about it. So I feel like you attract what you are. So when people have similar interests, like moms or even, let's say, immigrants to this country, we just have so many incredible stories. But your story, Ty, I mean, it's unbelievable. So what were you feeling about not talking about it? What kept you from talking about it?
I think more than anything for me, it was there was a resistance I had because like, I have to be honest, even though I'm in the media, growing up, there's a perception of how people who look like me, Black people, are perceived. And when my sister was murdered, I was so adamant in wanting people to know she didn't do anything wrong. She wasn't a criminal. She wasn't a drug addict or anything. She, was just a person that was murdered. And I wanted to make sure that was told. And one of the things I did was I I think that's how I got into journalism, because I reached out to the local newspaper and I asked, could I write an editorial? And they allowed me to do it. And I wrote an editorial at 16.
I was going to say, how old were you?
Yeah.
Right?
And that kind of engaged me with the local media in New Orleans. And I stayed friends with a lot of those people throughout college and started working. Some I still come across here in New York. But that's where I met a lot of the journalists that I know now as a child, and I was so adamant in making sure that my family wasn't perceived as another statistic. Right. And that was the thing that bothered me more than anything. It wasn't, okay, this is a crime. Yeah, sure, that hurts, but I didn't like the perception. And so that's what stayed with me and made me want to be a journalist. I always wanted to know the why and the backstory. And it carries me in my career, because working in Chicago, I remember I was working at a local affiliate when there was a shooting at a McDonald's, and the kid was shot in his back, but that wasn't the story that was being told. But I was curious. I looked at the video and I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. And thankfully I had a reporter who was like, yeah, this doesn't add up, and was able to question it. And of course, there was more to the story. Yeah. And so that's kind of always been in the back of my head whenever I work on any story. I want to know more, because I feel like we look at what's right in front of our face, and it's not always what's actually happening. So
true. It's so true. And I feel like so many times, especially in journalism, we don't give enough credit to the intuitive feeling that you get as a journalist, that there is more, right? And you don't go after it. There's this dimension that we don't talk, the spiritual dimension, that I think we were taught. Was it you and me? Yeah, on the social media show. You said God, and you said whatever you call it, that force that brings us all together. And I think that's really what's working here with all of us, and especially as a journalist, because your job is to tell stories. And if you don't, and I'm embarrassed to say it took me this long to find out, because I've known you for so long. But I'm grateful that you felt like open enough to do this, because it's going to be it's going to be out there now.
I think as the producer,
Misty's going to share it too.
But I think as a producer, I was always more interested in trying to tell other people's story, and not necessarily my story.
Okay.
But
that's interesting.
I think now I'm getting more there. Yep.
Oh, hold on. After the commercial, we're going to go to a commercial break, and then we're going to give her a microphone so she can actually take. We're going right to commercial break, and then Misty has a question.
All right.
Right, and we're back, and I think Misty had a question. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, with everything that you have gone through, what gives you the strength to keep going and keep pushing? Because a lot of people have been through some things and then they give up, they go into severe depression, and I want to say I admire your strength. So I want to know, how do you go about to keep going?
Well, I'm definitely going to say that's God and my family, because I was raised in the church. And beyond just that happening with my sister, 3 years after that, I was in a car accident when I was in college, and I was in a coma for 28 days. But my mother had this faith that no one else had. Doctors was like, oh, he's not going to make it. He's going to die. And she was like, nope, I know my child. He's going to be all right. And I think that resilience has always been my push in anything that I do. So I definitely give credit to God for that.
Okay, follow-up question really quick here. What did you just say? Okay, so now I'm very intrigued. I've been obsessed with like afterlife and everything. Is there something you can tell us a little bit about that too? Tell us a little bit.
There's no, I know everyone say, oh, I've died, I saw something. I didn't see anything. It was a year, the accident happened on February 1st, 1998. I remember the date. A year later, I was with the same friend who I was in the car with when it happened. And by the way, I was the passenger. Nothing happened to the driver, but I guess that's good because he was able to get out to get help. But I was hearing a song play. It was PM Dawn from the movie Boomerang. It was playing.
I'll Die Without You.
And
Do
that
you
song
know that's
made me
my song?
remember.
I'll Die Without You.
Yeah, that made me remember the accident, and that's when I remembered. So I never saw a light or anything. I felt like I was asleep for 28 days, and I woke up. And I woke up not realizing I couldn't walk. That was the shock for me because I woke up and tried to move, and everyone's like, no, you can't walk. I'm like, what? You know, I'm in the hospital. I'm like, what do you mean? And that was the determining factor for me because, again, I didn't want to be like seen as a statistic even in that state. Going to therapy, I had to be in a wheelchair. I refused to do it. I was like, no, I'm gonna stay in bed so I can walk. And I was going to therapy. I would swim every day and walk, like everything to build myself back. Doctors told my family, oh, he shouldn't go back to school. He's going to be a vegetable, or he may not be as functionally cognitive. But that accident happened February 1st. I was back in school in August of that same year. I was walking by June of that year. Against everything that they said I wouldn't do. And so that same push is what keeps me going. But it's also a flaw for me because I measure everyone based on my overcoming everything. In the sense of like, I tend to tell my students, I don't want to hear excuses. We got to find a way to do it.
Definitely.
You can do it.
Can you believe that?
And so, but I have to remember, hey, everyone's not you in that situation. But it's probably a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because I hold everyone to that standard.
Is that the moment in time where you realize that God really have a purpose on your life?
I would say that's definitely the start of it. It was more over time that I've seen that because I've overcome so much, and it took me a moment to realize that.
So when was the moment where you felt God grabbed you and said, I have a purpose for you? Do you remember the moment, the day, the second?
I would say the moment that I realized that I had a bigger purpose was when I graduated college. And the reason why I say that because in that moment I realized I overcame everything everyone said. You know, everyone's like, oh, you shouldn't go back to school right away. You're not going to be able to do this. It's going to take forever. And I just like ignored everyone in my mind. I was like, no, I can do this. And thankfully I had a mother. My dad is more laid back, but my mom was like, I know my child and leave him be.
Thank God for moms. See,
Yes.
we always say, because Misty and I are moms.
Yeah,
Mom's making it happen.
moms, they do make it happen.
She has 5 sons.
Okay, I was the
she's
youngest of
boss.
5. So.
Oh my, this is okay.
Yeah.
You know, I believe everything is destiny and it's supposed to happen the way, like you're supposed to meet or something's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And everything seems like it's an accident, but it's not.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, it breaks my heart that you went through all that. I'm really, really trying not to cry right now because I feel like you're such a pillar of strength. And it breaks my heart knowing how sweet you are and so kind you are and the great human being that you are for you to have to sustain all of this. And then it makes me, I'm going to just say it, question why do some people have to go through so much? Like that's the one thing I don't understand as a journalist and as a Catholic woman. You know, I go, why do people have to go through all of this suffering and pain? And you know, there was a nun that answered that question. Dave, you're gonna love this one. Dave Kimmel's with us behind the camera. That's why we look so nice, by the way. Catholic, see, God is in the room. It was a sister told me this, a nun, when my mom was dying, she said, she's closer to God. She's going to be closer to God. The more she suffers, the closer she is to God. Do you feel that? Do you feel like there, like you said, there was this ultimate maybe reason? Because when he's teaching, I mean, you should see how he commands these kids, and they're not kids, they're adults, grown adults who are very marketable. But I'm just saying, I think it makes you so useful to the world.
Yeah, it's definitely when you're going through something, there's a sense of humility that comes after you get out of it, I think. when you're going through it, you're going to question it. I question stuff all the time, but I think the change for me was in that moment when I graduated. That was my aha moment. I was like, okay, I got this. And I've tried to live life like that ever since. And it's weird. I don't go around saying it, but I just always think it. I was like, okay, I'll get through it. Whatever it is, I try not to let it bother me, because when I look back at that, that was the biggest thing, I think.
Yes. I want to piggyback off of what you said. I want to add on to that. I feel like the reason why we go through so much is we have to be mindful of what we ask God for. If we ask God for patience, He's going to put us in something to make us more patient. If we ask God for strength, He's going to put us in something that's going to make us undeniably strong. And I remember for myself, because I grew up in foster care, and I remember I used to ask God, like, I want to be a vessel. I want to be used. I want people to look at my life and say, oh my God, if she went through it, I couldn't. I was saying that at a young age. And then I started going through stuff in my teens and in my adulthood, but it made me stronger. So I just feel like we have to be careful. When we ask to be great, He's going to make sure we go through things that's going to make us undeniably great. Like, your strength is undeniably great. So when you have someone that's not as strong as you because of the things you went through, He's going to make sure you gave. So you are a vessel, a martyr for us of strength. And I want to say, I'm happy God used you, because your story touched me today, and it's going to touch millions of people. So got to be careful what we ask God for.
See, now I need to have you on the podcast.
That's true.
Because she was saying about foster care. Now she's telling her story, and I'm like, that's a good story. What's going on? Like, you know me, I'm always looking for good stories. Okay, we're going to go right to the commercial. Oh, sorry. I have to do this in the mic. Sorry. She's going to be on our next podcast. We got to do this. But we're going to go right to our commercial break. It is a speed round with Misty and Monica. I'm putting you first. Misty and Monica coming back after the break. We're back. Now we're doing our speed round. I'm calling it Misty and Monica's speed round. Okay. Now, are you ready for this? I don't know if you're ready for this.
I guess.
Okay. The first question, I'll get the first question. I'm going to say the first question is, what is your motto? What is a slogan that you, like, for me, it's never, ever, ever give up. What's yours?
My motto is don't sweat the small stuff. That's the name of a book.
That's good.
My aunt gave me that book when I was after the car accident. And I've always lived by that ever since. So,
let me ask you, what was your biggest blooper that ever happened in your career?
In my career or in
yes,
life?
I want to know.
Career?
I want to hear this.
That's probably still happening. I don't know. No. No, I would say my very first job was in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay.
And I knew nothing about Tennessee when I moved there, and it was in the mountains, and it had snow, and I'm from New Orleans. We don't have any of those things. And I definitely gaffled, like, describing stories and people and places there. So I struggled the first job, and I hated it, but it helped me become a better producer. So I would say that's my big, because I always had something can go wrong, when I was there.
And back then when you made mistakes on TV, it didn't live forever like it does
Yeah,
now.
we don't have the
so
internet.
It's gone. So I feel, I remember I did a lot of goofs too on TV, especially in Miami. There was so much breaking news, and it's like, you'd mess up, but you just got to keep going, right? But I remember I had some doozies, even in New York too. I still have doozies, right, Dave? Dave knows the doozies, but he's not going to tell, right, Dave? You're not going to tell anything. Biggest accomplishment. What's your biggest accomplishment?
Biggest accomplishment. Well, I'm not done yet, so
Ooh,
I don't
good
think
answer.
I don't think I have that yet, because
Studio
there's things I want to do. So
that's the answer I've heard. Yeah, okay.
Not there yet.
You're not there yet. Okay.
Who or what was your favorite project that you worked on? Like, who was the person that you really had favor working with?
That's. I would have to go back to because she didn't know me, and I thought it was so interesting. And this was with Uzo Aduba from Orange is the New Black. Um, it was when the show was on. I was just a segment producer, and I asked her a question. And then when we were on a break, she was like, "What do you want to do in life?" And I was like, "Oh, I would like to make movies." And she was like, "Well, you should go do it." And it never left me when she said that. And I still live by that. And she was like, "I'm going to check on you every now and then." Her people or her, we follow each other on Instagram or whatever.
We love Instagram. We love
So,
Instagram.
Yeah. So
Instagram.
I would say that's a favorite just because she flipped the script and asked me about me versus me just asking about her. So I would give that because I never forgot that.
That's a good one.
And Misty's on Instagram. What's your Instagram again?
Mysterious. Oh, sorry. It's mysterious_Misty Blanco. You spell it MYSTERIOUS_Misty MISTY Blanco BLANCO.
Got it. I think I follow him. I think I do. Strawberry, I think I follow, right? And then what's your Insta? Like, how do we find more about you? Because you have a documentary coming up, right?
I do. My Instagram is I am Ty Lawson. So I am Ty Lawson.
I like that.
Simple. I don't have as many followers as you two. I'm not a celebrity.
Misty beats all of us,
Yeah.
hands down.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just working everyday person.
Well, what I love is that story, the documentary is coming out, right?
Yes.
So if we want to, we can check out your Instagram for all the updates.
Yes.
Who should I have on my next podcast? Who do you think?
Do they have to be in New York?
Well, no,
Oh,
we
I'm
can
just
do a
asking.
Zoom. Why
I don't
not?
know.
This will be a first Zoom for us. Why
Well,
not?
No, if it's,
I can do it. I have the we
but
have
if
the technical
it's-
abilities.
No, but if it's in New York, if it's someone here, there's a few people. I think I would be more curious because I like everyday people.
Yeah.
I like their stories. I don't want to hear celebrity
That's why you
stories.
love me, I think. That's right.
And-
Because,
and
that's
so-
my love, too.
Yeah,
You know that.
so-
Yeah.
I would want to hear like an everyday person story. I would tell you like the class you came to.
Aw.
I made my students do my New York story, and they found everyday people in New York.
Where can I find those stories?
And,
you have a website, don't you, or something? There's a forum, like...
Yeah. There's some
Yeah.
of those are up. Yeah,
Where is that?
City Newsroom, CJS. But it was interesting because it was everyday people like telling their story, like how they got to New York or how they are making it in New York. And I just thought it was interesting. So I would want you to talk to like everyday New Yorkers, particularly because it's not an easy place to live as much as I love it.
Gosh,
So,
you said it.
I would love to
Yeah.
hear their story.
Yeah.
Like how
So
are they
expensive.
living?
Very expensive. But we love it here.
Yeah.
do. It's
And wouldn't have it any
It's-
other way.
It's the land
So,
of the hustle.
Yeah.
New
Yeah.
York City.
So I would do a New
Yeah,
Yorker.
studio audience.
Yeah, I would want that story, but maybe that's not, but I would want that.
Okay.
I have suggestions.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Well, you should be.
I would love to see you sit down because June 7th is the car show. Rick Ross car show is coming up.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, I would.
Don't say Rick Ross.
I would love to see you talk to Rick Ross. See, I dropped it. Bang.
I just
bang.
passed out on the floor. Is there? Can I
Is he
get on
here?
the
Do
floor?
you know?
I can't get
Yes,
up.
I do know.
Are you-
I
they're
feel like
they're collaborators.
yeah. So I feel
That
like
just happened. Oh,
you
my-
should
My mind just blown.
get Rick Ross. I feel like you should reach out to his sister. Shout out to Juana.
I
Hey.
can't do this because my
Um,
wig will come right off. It's not secured as well as I
And I feel like you should talk to him because it's so much more to Ross than just music. The car show is coming up June 7th. Maybe you should reach out to him before then, and maybe you should pop up at the car show. The news should pop up at the car show in Atlanta.
Yes. Can I say yes 16 times? All right. Well, I think that's called bearing the lead, right? That was
Yeah.
pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, yes. Oh, sorry. That's called bearing the lead. But back to you, Ty, before I pass out. Final words for people who want to catch your show and to figure out, they're catching the show and they're learning about your story. You said the best is yet to come.
Yes.
Why do you say that?
Well, because first of all, I'm working on a documentary. It's not done yet. And so I guess the best thing right now is if you want to help me make it happen, please do so.
Well, you didn't tell me that.
Well, yes.
We can totally. She knows the right people. I don't know. You
I've
know my
interviewed-
bosses.
yeah.
You know my bosses. My bosses.
It's all
can make
about
it
people on
happen.
death row and like the families, how they're impacted by people on death row, but also victims of crime.
Who's your dream? What's your dream network to be on? I hate to do that on this network, but we love Nextstar. But who's your dream person to work with? Like, who do you want? What type of distribution are you thinking about? Are you thinking?
Oh well,
about...
for this, because of the world we're in now, I would love to be on like Netflix or one of the
like a
streaming because it can go bigger than New Orleans.
Pix 11 has streaming. We are on the streaming app,
Yeah.
so I will talk to, of course, Joe and everyone there.
Yeah.
But what did you had an idea? You were,
I was going to say. So, which your documentary is about people who were incarcerated?
Well, it's a mix. It follows me. I have a trailer right now I can show you where I'm trying to interview the person who murdered my sister. He's on death row.
What?
And I've been for years I talked to his lawyers. I've talked to the prosecutors. A lot of the people have died because it's been so long.
Yeah.
But
They're just pointing up to Ashley Bent because that's what she does. That's her show.
What show?
You should be on her show. She does that every night.
Oh.
Bang.
10 o'clock News Nation.
Ashley
Hey.
Banfield, if you're watching,
I
I'm
didn't know
sending
that.
you this clip.
Okay. Well,
She's
good
on
to
our
know.
wall.
True crime.
Oh, I didn't know.
Because I
that.
was gonna say if you're also gonna have other people's stories on there.
Well, I'm following. There's one particular person that I've interviewed because his mom was murdered, and he spoke at the time about the person being put on death row. But now he's the biggest proponent of getting people off death row, and so I had to meet with him because it was my come to Jesus moment because I had strong feelings about it because it was my family, and now those feelings have changed.
Yeah. So are they gonna allow you to interview him or?
Well, his lawyer agreed to it, but the catch-22 is I have to wait till all his appeals are done.
That takes so long.
And I mean, again,
That's
I
too
was
long.
16 and now I'm in my 40s. So just show you how long it goes.
What's the first question? Once God grant that for you, what is the first question you would ask? And in that moment, how do you think you would feel once you lock eyes with the person who took something so special from you?
Well, I've seen him, not closely, but I've seen him in court. You know, every time there was a court appearance, I was there. But I think the first thing I would have to ask is why? Because there was my sister who was 29 and my nephew who was 3. So why would you, you know, for what? Like material things, just take it. You don't have to kill them.
You forgive him?
That's something I struggle with, but I think I'm at a place where I can do that now. It's not that the forgiveness is they get a pass, but
Right.
I'm not gonna let them absorb me anymore. And it took a while, and that's one of the interviews I did was I sat down with my mom. We've never had a conversation about this, but we decided to do this on camera. And I look at her because she's very she's much more humble and forgiving than I am. And it took us having a conversation this past February where I decided I think I'm better than I was when I was 16, because at 16 I just wanted to get even.
Yeah.
You know, so
I admire your strength, and you're so courageous to do this. And I also want to say big up to your freedom, because once you do that, the freedom that you're gonna
Yes.
get, you know, is like no other. You know, so I want to say I applaud you. I want to say thank you, and we need that story, and hopefully it happens soon.
yes, thank you.
And you're
I
great.
hope so.
You're amazing.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. Thank you. I
We
feel like
love
it's
you, Ty.
important.
We love you. And who knows what's going to come from this? Is it Ashley Banfield? Is it Misty? Misty TV? I don't know. But anyway, thank you for being on the show. And thank you for watching always.
No, thank you for having me.
We love you too. It's all about YouTube. You're making it happen.